Okay, so we're going to go to the last trailer of the day. And this one, I think, this one is more than Transformers, more than Indiana Jones. This is the one that is probably going to be the most anticipated of the three. And it's going to be it's actually going to be the first movie of the summer. And it's going to come out May 5th, I believe. And that is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Now, of course, just no more than 2 weeks ago, they dropped the holiday specials, so this was a perfect time just to keep it in everybody's mind. Um, Give me your thoughts on this.
I liked it. Um, it's weird. Like, I'm seeing a lot of people saying, "Oh, how emotional it made them! How devastating they're gonna feel." And I don't know, cause I don't know about you, David, but I watched the leaked version they released back at
Okay.
Comic Con a couple months back, and that was a better trailer. And
Really?
I will go so far as to say that could be the best MCU trailer that they've ever done. And
Wow.
they didn't release it. And it kind of hurt. It broke my heart to see that when I watched this. It's a completely different song, a completely different tone. They have a bunch of new shots, and it makes me think they didn't do that because they want to make that special for the Comic Con audiences. This is a good trailer, but I don't like. I was saying it in one of our spaces. I don't feel like it really hooked you as much as like the first Guardians trailer did or the second one did. This one felt a little bit more like, they're teasing the end, but I would have liked to maybe see a little bit of a legacy type of thing where they showed you the original Guardians and they, spruced it with this. Um, I liked it though. I thought that the costumes are really cool because they're wearing the comic accurate costumes back in 2008. The Guardians comics that these movies are based on, they wore these blue and red outfits, and they haven't worn them in the movies, but now they're unified. They're wearing all the same outfit. I really think the raccoon stuff is really emotional. It looks like he could possibly die. Um, and it's a big mystery. What's going on with Gamora? Where's she been? They've been trying to look for her. Um, and I think it still has some of the funny aspects, like when Drax throws the ball and it hits the child. And I mean, it looks like your standard Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I am also very curious because they say it's the end of the Guardians, the team as we know it. I They haven't quite told us the plot of this movie at all in this trailer. It's very much a teaser trailer, but I do wonder what that means by it being the last time we'll see this team. Does it mean that all of them die? Does it mean that we'll have a new team with some of the remaining members? But also the two big highlights though are Adam Warlock, played by Will Poulter, and he is shown in a couple scenes. He's actually in the comics connected to the Soul Stone, and as we know, the Soul Stone is the reason why Gamora is dead. So, I mean, they could play around with that. And then there's the character known as the High Evolutionary. And this character, the actor, I can't think of his name right now, but he was in Peacemaker. He's a wonderful actor, and he created Rocket Raccoon. So you're going to get a
Really?
little bit of Rocket Raccoon's backstory in this. And as we see his girlfriend, Lila. So that's the best I think stuff that we've seen in this trailer. So what did you think of it?
Interesting. Um, no, I liked it. I mean, it had all of the elements that Guardians do. The Guardians movies do. It had the comedy, like you were talking about with Groot, or Drax doing that. It had the serious side of it. It had the action side of it. I'm really curious to see. I mean, if and it's interesting, isn't it, that we have all these movies that are coming out, and it's going to be the end. So, I mean, not to go off topic, but
Speaking
like,
of trends, like you were talking about before, like I think it's crazy to me because I think in a way Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which they also released a little like sneak peek at, which was a
right, I saw that.
time. It was nothing new. It was, I mean, one new shot or two, but that also looked like they're marketing it as like the end of the Ant-Man movies. But
Yeah.
like that's the thing. Like when you hit the trilogy mark, that's when you have to.
I think that's good, though. I mean, I think
so.
3 movies, I think there's, because look, that's 6 or 6.5 hours of story being told.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And when you're able to follow these characters for that long, you're able to do deep dives into every single character. I think so. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, of course, you have Adam Warlock, and then I didn't realize Sylvester Stallone's going to be in this.
Yeah,
Again.
because he was.
So that will be interesting to see
too, and they will probably reunite with the Guardians characters from the second Guardians movie. So he played, I believe it was Nighthawk, or that could be the name of his character. It's gonna be a really emotional movie, I bet, and I think that with it giving like the May release, I'm hoping that this means that this is how they kick the summer off. It's really good.
And this is absolutely.
Because,
I mean, Marvel has owned May for the past 10 years. And I say that because when you look at the Avengers, the Avengers came out in the first week of May. And of course, that was the first movie ever to make $200 million opening weekend. And then the only movie, or one of two movies ever to make $100 million the second weekend. Oh, I'm not saying it's going to do this, but so look at Doctor Strange just last year.
Yeah,
another film. So they have owned May. I think that. But
well, I was gonna just point out how we're also in Phase 5 right now. Like, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. These are Phase 5 MCU movies. So that means that we're heading towards this endgame now of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. With Kang Dynasty, they've said that Quantumania leads directly into Kang Dynasty. So it's going to be interesting to see Guardians come out after Quantumania. I wonder if the MCU itself will feel a little different after that. So I'm excited. I really am. And I'm really excited for the soundtrack. Because that's the thing about Guardians.
Absolutely. I think that's the one thing that everybody's looking forward to. I would love, as millions of other people do, I love, like, Guardians itself, that soundtrack is second to none. The second one's good, not as good, it's always hard, but that first one is just hit after hit after hit after hit after hit, and it works. So I'm really curious, and this is the last movie, at least for him doing Marvel movies, because of course we all know he's the co-CEO of DC now for James Gunn.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see what kind of flair. So I got to ask the question real quick. Who do you think is going to die? Because here's the thing. We know Dave Bautista, who plays Drax, is not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket was in serious pain in a couple of those shots. So who do we think dies?
You know who? I thought of this theory actually last night. Gamora.
That makes sense.
So this is what I'm wondering, because you have the Soul Stone, and Red Skull said, what is done cannot be undone. So there was no way they could get Gamora back. There was no way they could get Black Widow back. And I wonder if that consequence also affects everything across space and time. So even if, Gamora dies. Like, what if there's a chance, it's been 5 years since Infinity War, and what if like the timeline connects where when Gamora gets to that timeline where she would eventually die, that's the part of this movie, and then she will die. And there's, I think, a thing in this film where Star-Lord's forgetting who Gamora is. And I don't know how that's possible, but I think in the trailer, Manus says something about he's forgetting or something. And I'm like, wait, what's that mean? So there's a lot of stuff in this that, I mean, could point to her. I mean, there's Adam Warlock with the Soul Stone. And if it's not Gamora, I mean, it could be Star-Lord. I mean,
one of them, if not, well, I don't think when you see that kind of reaction from Rocket, I don't think it's Mantis or Nebula dying. So it's one of the other three.
well, remember, David, Nebula and Rocket were the sole survivors of the blip. They were much closer, I think, in between Infinity War and Endgame. So I think that they are close. I really think that there's a possibility that literally anyone can die in this movie. And I think the trailer's also maybe trying to trick us because there's that one shot of them all together as the Guardians. I think maybe some aren't in that shot. I think that,
and that's perfectly yeah, no, I have no doubt, because how many times have we seen shots in a trailer like this one that when we actually watch the movie, like, wait, where are they?
Yeah.
I mean, they could have just superimposed them wrong, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, these are the three monster trailers that dropped yesterday, and once again, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think that you're going to see all these trailers in the Super Bowl. I'd be shocked if Marvel or whomever doesn't, go out and spend the money. They want to make people get to the theater. And so, I mean, it's interesting because you're going to have Guardians come out the first week of May. You're going to have Indiana Jones come out the end of June. And then I think Transformers is released like right in the middle of it. So it's going to be a huge, huge 2 months. Speaking of huge, we've got a huge 2023 coming up for you guys. What we're going to do is just give you a couple breakdown. I put up the roundup yesterday. So please, guys, go subscribe. Hit that like button. We've got a ton of great things coming up. And hopefully in the next day or two, we can sit down and do I finally figured out a structure to do our little perfect movies. So we're going to sit down and do Winter Soldier. We've got 10 movies to start that are going to be in this series of movies: Skyfall, Winter Soldier, Social Network, Heat, The Dark Knight, several others across the board. And we're going to make them very easy for you guys to watch. And because these are, I'm going to say it, perfect films. And some of them really changed the landscape of Hollywood, like The Dark Knight, for example. Because of that one movie, now we have up to 10 Best Picture nominees. So we have, Roundup's going to keep coming to you guys. And we're going to try and get some interviews. I have got a couple people lined up that I think that would be fascinating to sit down and watch and listen to and really understand not only who they are, but why they do what they do. And so, I'm so excited for this because there's a plan. There's a plan for this, and everything's going to go well. And we just got a co-host back, so I can't wait for this stuff. Okie dokie. So, and I'm going to keep asking you. You have to think of a movie that you haven't seen. I've already got a list of 10 that I'm going to sit down and watch next year. So you've got to try and think of a movie that you haven't seen
The
And
Princess and the Frog. How about that? The Princess and the Frog.
okay, we'll call it that for the time being. Okay, guys. So he's Kyle. I'm David. This has been Real Talks. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.